How would you like to be remembered?
As a winner.
Ayrton Senna firmly cemented his name as a driver to watch at the 1984 South African Grand Prix, steering his Tolman Hart to a points finish in only his second Formula One race, despite starting from 13th on the grid.
And Ayrton Senna is now in 6th position and on a World Championship point.
His skill and determination saw him climb through the order in a performance that hinted at the greatness that was to come from the young Brazilian driver, marking the beginning of a remarkable career in the sport.
And look, this is absolutely sensational. Nigel Mansell in the pits, new tyres. He must have lost the lead to Senna.
Ayrton Senna found himself unexpectedly leading with just a handful of laps to go in Monaco 1992, after race leader Nigel Mansell pitted with a suspected puncher. What came next was a heroic and defensive drive to hold off the charging Briton in his freshly shod Williams.
These two are the implacable rivals in Formula One, and you can see for yourselves what the situation is now. Mansell swarms around all over the McLaren.
Under relentless pressure from Mansell, the Brazilian skillfully navigated the narrow streets of Monte Carlo, lap after lap after lap. Senna held firm, refused to yield, and blocked every attempt to pass. His masterful display earned him a hard-fought victory and left a visibly exhausted Mansell in P2. Senna had matched Graham Hill's record of 5 Monaco wins and had solidified his reputation as one of the most ruthless drivers in Formula One history.
It was exciting but very difficult because he was several seconds faster than me for every lap, and I had no grip to put the power down, so it was like on ice.
Senna showed a completely different side to his personality during practice at the 1992 Belgian Grand Prix, when Eric Comas crashed at over 180 miles an hour at Blanchimont. The Frenchman, unconscious in the middle of the track with his engine still running and his foot pressed on the accelerator. Senna stopped his McLaren, dashed over to his stricken colleague, and spotting the danger of an imminent explosion, switched the engine off. Comas would later state that Senna had undoubtedly saved his life. 2 years prior to his life-saving efforts, a blistering lap at the Jerez circuit saw Senna qualify for the 1990 Spanish Grand Prix with a time of 1 minute 18.387 seconds.
And you could hear the revs soaring then as Ayrton searched for a gear, but really this is Senna, the master of the pole position.
His flying lap set a new track record and meant Senna had become the first driver to reach the 50 career pole positions milestone. An incredible achievement he celebrated with his beloved McLaren team.
I think this one was unbelievable for me. I had a very fast lap.
1989 marked the year that Senna's now infamous rivalry with Alain Prost started to fizzle. Their fierce intra-team battle coming to a head in a controversial collision at the 1989 Japanese Grand Prix. With the championship on the line, tensions were high between the two drivers. Senna needed a win to keep his title hopes alive and aggressively attempted to pass Prost on the inside at the chicane.
This is the opportunity that Senna's looking for, and he's going through. Ouch! Oh my goodness, this is fantastic! They beat. This is what we were fearing might happen during the race. And that means to say that Prost has won the World Championship. Alain Prost, World Champion of 1989.
Prost had closed the door and in effect handed himself the championship. The incident sparked intense debate and controversy. It was a dramatic climax to a season-long battle between two of Formula One's greatest drivers.
I was absolutely sure that I'm going to win the race or an accident like this, because I knew that he wanted to win absolutely, and you know the problem with Ayrton, he can't accept not to win, and he can't accept that somebody resists by an overtaking maneuver.
I refuse to walk away from the fight. It's my nature to go right to the end, and that's what I'm going to do.
1 year on, and their relationship hit boiling point once again. Senna was on pole, but a dispute over which side of the grid he should start from caused tensions to fly.
Senna asked for the pole position to be changed from the left. His request was refused, and the result is that Alain Prost is actually going to have a start advantage.
As the lights went out, Prost made a lightning start from second on the grid, surging ahead of Senna on the grippier surface into the first corner. Senna refused to yield as the pair rocketed into turn 1.
And it's happened immediately! This is amazing! Senna goes off at the first corner! Well, that is amazing, but I fear absolutely predictable.
And that makes Ayrton Senna world champion this year.
It was the second successive year the championship had been decided in a collision. Only this time, it was Senna who was victorious and claimed his second world championship in the process. The iconic moment added another chapter into one of Formula One's greatest rivalries, with Senna later going on to admit he had crashed deliberately as payback for the year before. A disastrous start at the 1988 Japanese Grand Prix saw pole sitter Senna stuck on the grid as the lights went out.
Senna left on the grid, and they go flying past him,
dropping him all the way down to 14th place. With his chances of winning a maiden world championship dwindling, he went on one of the greatest charges in F1 history.
And Senna really charging through the field, and I think we might see a really outstanding drive from Senna as he fights his way back.
Within 20 laps, he was in second place, chasing down championship rival and teammate Alain Prost. And as the Frenchman stumbled through backmarkers, Senna, showing characteristic courage, roared past for the lead.
Ayrton Senna crosses the line, and you can see his exultation.
Ayrton Senna, the new world champion.
It was a truly remarkable performance, full of grit and determination, that won the Brazilian his first driver's crown.
It feels great, of course. I feel very happy and lighter, and it's a great feeling.
The 1986 Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez saw one of the closest finishes in F1 history. Senna led his Lotus onto the final tour, battling with very worn tyres. Behind, a determined Nigel Mansell was bearing down on him with vastly fresher rubber, gaining 3 seconds a lap. Senna defended superbly, but as they hit the final straight, the Briton darted alongside.
Mansell, if he gets it right, can sprint out of the rear wing of Senna's car. Senna moves across. He's keeping Mansell back, and he wins.
Just 14 thousandths of a second split the two future world champions as they crossed the line, victory thrusting the Brazilian to the top of the championship leaderboard. In his 8th season as a Formula One driver, the now 31-year-old Senna finally won his home race in front of his adoring fans in Sao Paulo. Qualifying on pole, a superb start saw Senna lead for some 65 laps at the Interlagos circuit, but then his McLaren's gearbox began to fail.
My goodness, is Senna going to be cheated of victory in the Brazilian Grand Prix for the 8th time?
With the Williams of Riccardo Patrese closing in and the rain starting to pour, Senna, stuck in 6th gear, managed to steer his stricken car home to snatch the win.
Ayrton Senna achieves his ambition to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, but another lap or two and I think he would not have done so. But ifs don't matter. Senna has won. Vencedor, winner.
As the Samba celebrations began, the victor, physically and emotionally exhausted after his grueling efforts, was barely able to lift the trophy.
Today is a memorable day in my career, in my life, and it's a super day. I'm over the moon.
The third race of the 1993 season saw Ayrton Senna once again demonstrate his determination to win on home soil. Despite not having a full season contract with McLaren, the Brazilian made a fantastic start, quickly darting past Damon Hill into turn 1. But the much faster Williams was soon back ahead of the home hero, and to compound his misery, Senna was given a stop-go penalty for passing a back marker under yellow flags.
Ayrton Senna has been penalised, he's been shown the black flag, he's been told to come in for a mandatory 10-second stop.
But the Brazilian's luck was about to change. The heavens opened and the rain came down. Senna switched to wet tyres and the unpredictable weather allowed him to shine while those around him floundered.
There is Prost! Prost has gone off!
Senna caught up and made the crucial pass for the lead.
Senna uses all his superior experience and takes the lead in the Brazilian Grand Prix from Damon Hill.
He took the flag to celebrate a second home win, his unparalleled mastery of the wet for all to see, and in doing so achieved an 100th race win for McLaren, a performance that was sure to have encouraged the Brazilian to stay for the season.
It will be his 37th Grand Prix win, and Ayrton Senna, to the delirious delight of his countrymen, wins in Brazil.
But it was way back in his rookie season when Senna's reputation as a wet weather genius was established at the 1984 Monaco Grand Prix. Starting in 13th and in near torrential rain, Senna masterfully manoeuvred his Tolman up to the sharp end, passing such legends as Niki Lauda along the way.
And Senna challenging for that second place, and he's taken it. A magnificent bit of driving by Senna.
Yeah, that was absolutely marvellous. Brave and skillful.
He then chased down and passed race leader Alain Prost on lap 32. Prost pulled over, complaining that conditions were too treacherous to continue to race. The clerk of the course agreed, and the race was over. The results, though, were counted back to the last full completed lap. Prost was awarded victory, cruelly denying both Senna and Tolman a historic maiden win. Senna's first win would actually come the following season, and it was again the weather that allowed him to prove his authority at Estoril in 1985. Having secured his maiden pole position, he pushed the Lotus to the limit as drivers behind him aquaplaned and spun off in droves. Senna sailed around the sodden circuit, leading from start to finish and beating second place Michele Alboreto by over a minute. He secured the first of what would become 41 career victories.
And Ayrton Senna has already got his shoulder straps undone, and you can see that this usually totally unflappable, imperturbable Brazilian is for once absolutely beside himself with joy.
Hard to believe. It was my first win and it was fantastic. It was a tremendous feeling.
Perhaps Senna's most iconic moment was his qualifying lap in Monaco 1988. Senna himself remarked that his performance that day transcended his sense of reality. I was no longer driving the car consciously. I was driving it by instinct. Only I was in a different dimension. I was way over the limit, but still able to find even more. It frightened me, because I realized I was well beyond my conscious understanding. No onboard footage of the lap exists, but his time of 1 minute 23.998 was almost a second and a half quicker than teammate Prost. Truly a legend at work. And the legend didn't stop there. A wet Donnington bore witness to one of Senna's greatest ever single laps. Starting fourth on the grid for the 1993 European Grand Prix, a difficult start saw him drop a place to a young Michael Schumacher. But the Brazilian maestro then displayed all of his wet weather mastery.
And Ayrton Senna is up to fourth position ahead of Schumacher and challenging Wendlinger as they go round the right-hander into the old hairpin. Senna is up to third.
And by turn 7 he had overtaken Damon Hill for second. Then he slithered inside Prost and muscled his way through into a lead he would not relinquish.
I've done it, he says. Out comes the fist of victory.
Driving with slicks in damp and really slippery conditions was tremendous effort, because you just don't get the feeling from the car.
His final Formula One victory came at the 1993 Australian Grand Prix, a race that would be remembered as much for his skill behind the wheel as his sportsmanship off it. Starting from pole, the Brazilian led the majority of laps around the Adelaide street circuit, crossing the line to finish in first place.
And Ayrton Senna wins in Australia to the delight of his fans. A superb 41st Grand Prix win by Ayrton Senna in his last drive for McLaren.
It would be the last time that Senna would grace the podium, score points or even finish a race. But his trip to the rostrum would be a career-defining moment. The Brazilian pulled his former rival and now friend Alain Prost onto the top step of the podium with him. A gesture that symbolised the mutual respect between the two legendary drivers. The race was a fitting final victory in his illustrious Formula One career, showcasing not only his skill and talent on the track, but also his grace and humility off it.